online event, my experience in moving to BIM. So let me quickly share you the event content. So these are the program details. So we'll have the opening session by Mr. Sitanshu Jain from Capricorn. And then we'll have architect Surat K. Manto from Studio Sonroy. Then Mr. Saurabh Jain from Studio Juggernaut. And Mr. Prithijit Majumdar from Aegis India. Post that, we'll have a question and answer session. So I would request all of you, so whenever a question pops in your mind, you can enter it in the Q&A box, whose access you must be having in your control panel. And in the end, we'll have a vote of thanks by Mr. Amit Kumar Jain. He's again from Capricorn. So please allow me to invite Mr. Sitanshu Jain from Capricorn.
Thank you, Farhad. Can you allow me screen sharing, please?
Yes.
Yeah. First of all, a very good afternoon to everyone. We welcome all the panelists from a varied architecture practices and all the participants who are present on this call. So the objective of today's webinar is to demonstrate how your friends and other organizations in the industry have implemented BIM. So I'm very honored to have all the panelists over here who have implemented BIM in their organizations. So with that, what I would like to do is give a short introduction about us as Capricorn without taking much time, and then hand it over to Mr. Surat and all the other architects, and who can take us on their journey on how they have seen the changes which have happened in the construction industry, the challenges which you are facing today, and how they have implemented technology, not only BIM, other technologies in their organization, and how you can also do the same for your respective roles and in your organization. So I'm just sharing my presentation. Farhad, please confirm it is visible.
Yes.
Thank you. So we as Capricorn, we have for almost last 30 years have been focusing on digital transformation solutions for construction and the design industry. So solution does not only mean software, of course, that is one thing that we do, but also how do we help you actually achieve the results and the output which we require in your organization. So like we started back almost in 88, 89, and so we are present now across India, across cities of Delhi, Mumbai, Hyderabad, and Bangalore. And all our team members are from our architects and engineers from eminent institutes in India, and bridging the gap between technology and the design and construction processes, and trying to improve the way we work today. So apart from that, apart from India, we are also a part of a bigger global umbrella of companies, and we are present across the world, like in UK, US, and Australia, and of course in India we are known as Capricorn. And so in each of the respective regions or countries, we are the market leaders in CAD, BIM, Autodesk, etc. technologies. So we work with almost each and every design or construction related organization which are there in India. You name anyone, and so we would be there in some form or the other. And apart from that, to support your organization, not just in software, we of course software is a part of it, but our main motto is how do we actually help you use that technology, implement that technology, and get the right outputs. So we have an extensive BIM team present who's focusing only on delivering the implementations and trainings to your team members and at different levels across all kinds of projects, all kinds of domains which are there in a project. And so whatever your challenge we can resolve using technology, please feel free to contact us. We'll be there to support you in whatever form we can. So with this, I would like to hand it back to Farhad. Farhad, please take it forward.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so first of all, I would like to invite architect Suraj K. Manto from Studio Sonrai. So Mr. Surat Manto, in his professional journey of over 28 years, has led design firms and various leading developers, both in India and abroad, over several landmark projects. He currently is the director of Studio Sonroy, a young startup firm engaging in design and augmentation of its related services. Prior to this new venture, he was managing director of Diag Group and leads the design division for the operations in UAE, Africa, and India. Diag was one of the firms which was hired to manage and lead the resident architect role for 4 expo pavilions. So over to you, Suraj sir.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Farhad. Thank you for inviting across. Thanks to Capricorn. And I think so. I'll just jump into my journey. It's been almost like a good number of years, and I've grayed up. But then I think so. There has been a shift change that I've seen in the industry, and especially with the amount of technology coming in and pouring in and its adaptability. So there are some definitely different insights that I can share with you. So what I would do is just run you through a small presentation that I've just made across. Let me know if you're able to see the screen, and then we can take you further from there. So let me know if you're able to, I'll just swap the screen. Okay, are you able to see the screen now?
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. Okay, so I've changed the word I, my, etc., and it's actually our experiences in moving to BIM, because there are a lot of people who have been experiencing similar stories in my career, and therefore I've moved it to, instead of my experiences, I've moved it to our experiences. Okay, next slide. So it all started in the 1993 year when I was introduced to a computer called as Modi Olivetti, which was doing the first set of PCs in India, and later on to an Apple computer. So both of them had that very interesting recycle bin, which was not there in Modi Olivetti, and it had the word sound. So that means there was the first computer that I saw the moment I graduated from college. I was there in Doshi's office, and then I saw, wow, we have a computer that makes sound. That was my first introduction to ClarisCAD. It was an AutoCAD. AutoCAD was there, AutoCAD 10 was there in the office, but we had only 5 computers and we could not lay our hands on it. And then we had floppy disks of 1.44, the whole story. I don't know if you've seen them, but then I had seen them. And then there were a notorious lot of 10 disks to be put in before you could start AutoCAD. Now, once when I got into this, I suddenly realized that, we were managing some of the largest projects in Navi Mumbai at that time, of Bharat Diamond Bourse on ClarisCAD. I was doing the peripheral designs, and then suddenly AutoCAD came, or ClarisCAD, which had similar intuitive commands, came very easy to all of us. And there we were not just designing, I was completely a drafty guy, where we were doing things only on the drafting board. We were moving into computers. But my personal adoption was a challenge. Like I was trying to shift from the departure where I had to move from my rotoring inks to something which I was not able to sketch very much quickly. And then I had to always take a printout to sketch it. But as we were moving, we suddenly realized that the design was complex. We had to repeat things, and to draft the same quantum of staircase detail in another block was much easier in AutoCAD or ClarisCAD when it was not, when we were doing something, across in a paper and pen mechanism. Then, came the year of 97, 98. And I'll not call it as the death of drafting board, but then this lovely little board, one of my passions, became redundant. And I was trying to transform my whole organization to move away. I got the wraths of all my draftsmen. They said, Surat, why do you want to put every computer on every desk? But that was the need of the hour. We had to do it. And Mohitji believed in that theory. We changed the whole organization into a computer organization. What I realized was, again, the adoption was a change. So we had technology issues. We were not able to, download files. We were not able to upload files. Internet was just coming in. But then, as usual, the industry was moving. You had to decide whether you want to move along with it or not. Then came the year 2001. That was my first introduction to this tool. We call it as Revit. But then Mr. Chakresh Jain came to our office and we had a lovely discussion. And then he gave me a trial CD of Revit 1.0. So I said, okay, let's have my studio trained on it. So we got Nilakshi, and then we trained the whole studio. Whoever would come early morning, 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock was a class. We ran that class. Everybody was certified across. But again, I saw that was a challenge. So that's the image of the DVD that I got across. Very passionate, I'll still have it. But then, I still saw the industry gap. Chakresh Saab asked me, Surat, where do you see? What will happen to Revit? Why don't you move from AutoCAD to Revit? I said, well, in India and the mass scale, I see at least 10 to 12 years for adoption. At that time, I was just, very, very young. So you can say that I was just maybe 5-6 years experienced architect. But then came the year of 2015-16, not very far away from now. And then I saw its adoption completely seamless coming in between the industry leaders, and people were still, even in Dubai, we're trying to say, okay, now we need to do BIM, we need to do BIM. So it was a more regular lingo in almost every organization, every meeting, every discussion that we would have in a month. At least we would have a more seamless discussion saying, we must do this, we must twist a tar. How will you twist a tar in AutoCAD? Okay, let's use Revit, let's use BIM, let's use. So it became a very adaptable word across. So why it took from 2001 to 2015 for us to not use it on a daily basis, I don't know. Technically, I feel some of those answers are like education. Institutions were not in it. Availability, the staff was not available. It wasn't an affordable software at all. Investment and returns was a big question mark. What were you putting in and what were you getting? The clients were not willing to pay you for it. The patrons who were completely missing didn't let us adapt it. So that transformation moved from there. Sorry, this slide should have been a bit earlier. So in 2010, I did a formal class myself at the age of 39. And then in 2015, I decided that BIM will be our core tool. And then that is the movement from where my journey actually started. Although started in, as an architect, as a designer, as a tool guy, as an AutoCAD, as a SketchUp, as a, Lumion, as a Bryce, name a software, learned it all by myself. But here I needed to be trained. I was old to learn it myself. So anyways, but even within from 2015 to 2021, I saw that there were missing links. My current journey has been, purely to influence people to learn, learning it myself to the degree that I want to learn. I love experimenting, and I can tell you that, not knowing Revit entirely, but I can tell you that I can crack it no matter where the concern is. I know exactly where to go. So that's slightly different way, because creativity in thinking is different from creativity in software. And nowadays I have, started collaborating with the word creativity. So BIM for me is collaboration, creative, detailing, and it's slightly a more universal tool the way I see it in the AEC industry. So we are now attempting to transform our workflows and generate a more collaborative tool within our relationship management with client, with developers, with our own self. Like even between two team leaders, even between the project and us, we assume that BIM is our language, and that's how we relate to each other. This everybody knows, but the blue ones are that where we are trying to concentrate. We don't think that BIM is something that I would love to engage right now without an AI tool to get inside a design tool. So I still design on my own and then move into construction or the operation and maintenance only in the higher level. So for me, still that element is miss. I think so AI intuitiveness still needs to be built within the software. This is what we technically see. It's one of our projects in the basement, but then I think so. This is what everybody thinks BIM is, but then we know that we can do some takeoff. So, but well, we again don't use it too much. We do, yes, we do, but when that's something that we augment it. It has its own set of limitations. We do architectural studies in it across, very similar to SketchUp, but then yes, when we are making the whole virtual model, we also look at this as a study tool. So we use it for presentations now completely from the BIM platform. But now that comes to actual realistic projects. Now moving from here, which is very conventional in most of the Indian territory and subcontinent, we don't see these kind of buildings. But this is where BIM comes in life. You can never understand it at this level. Nobody actually values it. But the moment you start telling a client doing this building and this building takes no different time than each other, he says, seriously? That's where the whole transformation starts coming to life. There's one of our projects where we start exploring the dimensions of not just the visualization, but when projects become more complex in the geometry, in their form, there is no other mechanism than to rely to technology. You cannot do without grasshoppers and dynamo and the other things. Okay, so you need to move to that side. You need to shift your thinking processes towards that side. Now it is like literally building the whole stuff. I mean, every nut and bolt of that structure, every MEP and the conduit inside it. So you have the MEP, you have the units, you have the ducts, you have the VRVs, you have the mechanism, flexibles, name it, the skin, everything is modeled across by us. So at this given point of time, you're actually experiencing the building in a totality. You can understand every other individual in the whole team works with you, collaborates with you on the singular one entity, which is a model. Yes, you can do lots of other things than what we do, we can do, others can do, but what we concentrate on, we try to concentrate on critical observation. We use BIM to just analyze its capacity, whether this is going to work, how is this going to clash, look at the joints. If you just look at, the geometry and figure out that there is a point where the form has become so paramount and there is an opening coming within it and there is a tessellation between the facade, it could not have been visualized or drafted in an AutoCAD. These panels are industrially produced. You need to have a solution in which the whole panel could be cut and given with a set of dimensions and then just come and install that. So it is all about modeling to the millimeter precision. In terms of just challenges that you can never visualize in terms of even constructability. Like the escalator pit was not being constructible. We could not put our hands in to make the cladding across. So that's how do you make all that? It's only because you can visualize it in a virtual building model far more than in a 2D experience. So those are executional criticalities that we are able to solve. In terms of accuracy to the power infinity, I love this word that, when we do AutoCAD or anything like that, most of the time we are left to a precision. And sometimes when we have to take extensions and lines and trims, you may or may not get a precision. But in a modeling, you cannot go wrong. It's a geo-positioning in a format. So you need to have that precision. And then what happens because of this, the whole contractor can actually make an LED light to that precision so that you can join them together in such a way that it becomes seamless. So we can only raise a project challenge, and there is an industry that comes to life to address it. Generate a vendor level visualization. Most of the vendors don't have this tool. So sometimes you're working with a very small vendor. He may not be able to visualize, but whether his cable is going to get pulled, or will it hit against a glass member, or will it hit against a metal member? Will he get the tautness that he's talking about? Will he able to turn his buckle to tighten the rope? Is not known. So this helps us do that job. Obviously, we can, do a complete cable trunking and modeling of all sorts of funny things you can think of in architecture and in MEP. We also use for a very unique agenda, save wastage at site. This is one of the things that we add value to something. Clash detection is a very vast subject. You can use it for multiple things. We use this to tell our contractors, guys, please don't get X number of boards, because that's going to be getting wasted. So you need to reduce your wastage at site, and sometimes that itself is a huge cost. What we are now doing, we are doing ultra level details in BIM. So what you can think in AutoCAD, we don't depend anymore on AutoCAD. We go ahead and detail all these casements, all these metal trims, everything in Revit. So that's the level of detailing that we are engaging ourselves in across. So that's all from my team, guys. I just would like to end up by saying exploration is endless. We at Studio Sondrai, we are very young. We are just 5 months into the industry. Being in the design field for 30, almost, I would say 30 years, 29 to be 28 to be precise. But then my personal take has been that we are just at the tip now, in India at least. And I believe that the more you are able to adopt these technologies, the better your exploration and your journey is going to be. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you, sir. So thank you for taking us through the complete journey of technology, right from manual drafting to BIM. And your points are well taken. For complex projects, yes, BIM is essential. I have one more take on BIM, but that I'll ask you in the Q&A session. I have one very good question for you, but I'll keep it for later. And I would request other guys also, all the participants, please, put your questions in the Q&A box whenever it pops up, so that I can, put them in front of our panelists. Okay, so let me just share my screen. So now I would like to invite architect Saurabh Jain from Studio Juggernaut. So Mr. Saurabh Jain is a partner at Studio Juggernaut, an Indo-Japanese practice with offices in New Delhi and Tokyo. A graduate of CEPT University in Ahmedabad in 2008, Mr. Saurabh has since worked as a senior architect at Veer Mueller Architects in New Delhi, where he garnered valuable experience conceptualizing, managing, and developing projects across all the scales and specializing in large-scale institution projects. He also worked at Indian National Trust for Art and Cultural Heritage, INTAC, on projects at the urban scale. In 2014, he set up his independent design studio, CoLab Design Work, based around the idea of collaborative design, before moving on to setting up Studio Juggernaut in 2016 with other two partners. So over to you, Saurabh sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Farhad. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Farhad. Thank you, Shatanshu, also Amit ji and Chakresh for inviting me. It's been a very interesting journey for us. We are a very, very young studio. So I will talk a little bit more about the journey that we've had through this presentation. It's a very short presentation that I'll just share with you. Okay, is my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So that's right. We are, we are a very, very young studio. We were established in 2016. But prior to 2016, Juggernaut, all three partners had their own respective independent practices. And, my practice was called CoLab Design. My other partner, Harsh, was called Harshvardhan Jain Architects. And we had a third partner. We have a third partner in Tokyo, Tepe. His practice was called Humanscape Design Lab. And this, we realized very quickly that the industry was moving to a point where independent small practices couldn't just operate, at that level. What you really had to do was pool in resources when you can. And Collab itself had started with the idea of collaborative design, that you can put together people, not everyone has to do the same thing. There are specializations and you can bring them together. And the same idea and philosophy we followed when we actually putting our firms together and resources together to sort of present a bigger body of work. And I think why that is relevant here is that that brought a variety of processes of working together. We all different, every architect has their own independent design philosophy, as well as a process of operating their professional practice. So I think that sort of brought us all together. But I think the most important aspect that we had to be resolved was the platform at which we operate. So while all our independent practices had been working in AutoCAD or using other software such as Rhinoceros, SketchUp, etc., or even ArchiCAD, but then we realized that maybe, and we all had our own independent experiences with Revit. We weren't using it so actively. So, we decided to make Revit our combined sort of platform to work in. The other advantage, or the other unique condition that we have here, is that we are a international practice based out of New Delhi and Tokyo. That also means that we have work from both of these contexts, and that presents its unique type of challenges. And I'll show you through my slides how that has Revit, or moving to BIM, has been able to help us in solving those issues. Yeah. I'm just talking about the type of work that we have in India and what the international projects are. So the Indian projects are primarily residential and institutional work. What is, and we are seeing this change in the industry now, that a lot of clients who are coming to us, especially clients who are building large residences or setting up institutions, they come with this idea that architects, they would like to hire architects who are in BIM. And I think that's the great advantage. Even as a young studio, we have positioned ourselves in a place that we use BIM, we are proficient with it, and actually for the it's that way we are able to in fact make very impressive and strong presentations to clients about our body of work. And BIM has helped us in fact get a few prominent clients, and that I think that's been a great advantage that BIM has got to us. So most of our clients are looking for architects who are working on BIM, and that's why they come to us. The other advantage that we have at Juggernaut, we are looking at we are very academically oriented. So a lot of our we want to create all our drawings at one go. So it has to be fully our construction drawings are fully coordinated, and they are we create drawings, the entire drawing set, before we go into construction. I think Revit has helped us creating watertight construction drawings, which wasn't so possible in AutoCAD. There were always errors, but I think Revit has eliminated them to a large extent. Then precise quantification and takeoff sheets, that has been another advantage, because being a small studio, we do not necessarily feel the need to hire external consultants. We would like to do a lot of the quantification in-house, and I think using Revit and BIM especially has helped us with that. The other thing parallelly that's happening in the industry is that a lot of consultants, our MEP consultants, also structural consultants, are moving to use Revit, and now there is an ecosystem where other consultants and other people who are collaborating with you on your team are also using Revit, and therefore we are able to leverage that to our advantage. And of course, producing 3D views with Revit as a Revit model as the base. So we are using different software, but Revit is our base model for producing 3D views in-house. And as far as the international work is concerned, and this is primarily work in Japan, most of our work is commercial and mixed-use work, which is also very interesting because in this case we have developers as clients, and in this case again, Revit has played a very important role in getting us this work, because these capabilities are not available so easily in places like Japan, and then they're relying on us to create their Revit model. The big advantage is developers have a very the nature of work is very different. It's very fast changing. They require very fast turnaround times, which means they sometimes make small changes to details to get the costs in their place, and therefore those have to be updated in drawings very quickly. And I think Revit, if Revit wasn't there, we won't be able to take this work on. Again, precise quantification and estimation has been very important. And also, in this case, our international projects, the consultants are all based internationally. So we've been able to model some of their input and also detect clashes. So overall, in both aspects of our work, Revit has helped. So I will share just two projects, just two small projects, and show you some of the drawings that we have created, so that just kind of. So this is a project that it's based. It's in Solan, and it's basically a set of residences. That the site for the project is sloping, and there are all these 2 or 3 buildings, or 4 buildings, in fact, in the entire site. So this is where I think Revit really helped us, because we were able to create the terrain in Revit, as well as all these 3 or 4 buildings were separately modeled in separate, they were independent files, and they were all brought in together into this model. So that's a great advantage. While you have this whole thing as one, appearing as one project, we could have separate teams working on these individual buildings, and they were all being simultaneously updated on this site that was also modeled on Revit. So I think there was a big advantage that I think Revit or BIM has brought us, which wouldn't have been possible to model precisely unless. And also the other thing is that it's a very complex project in terms of its roof structure, etc., etc. And I think I'll show you how some of that has also been modeled in Revit, and successfully so. The other thing is that we are very, as architects who are very clear about the type of drawings that we want. Our drawings are usually quite complex, and therefore Revit has also helped us make sure that the constant changes that happen in the design doesn't affect the quality of drawings. So Revit has helped us just make sure the transition from AutoCAD into Revit has been quite smooth in terms of trying to create the right graphic for presentation of our drawings. So these are just typical drawings, floor plans here, some sections. But even in this case, if when you have these complex forms, roofs, sloping roofs in different directions, in AutoCAD, I would imagine even slight changes would mean that somebody has to go around drafting, these roof forms again and again, so to their precise slope, etc. But what Revit has helped us do is save a lot of time in avoiding the redrafting work that happens in a project like this. So overall, the advantages have been great using Revit in this type of project. Also, very, very complex glazing because of the nature of the project being in the hills. So we've been able to use Revit also to calculate quantities. We have only now started putting information, precise information about those products in our Revit model. So we are hoping to, as we evolve the process, hoping to use that to the advantage, sort of making a digital twin of our building. This is the second project. It's a project in Japan. It's a high-rise tower, mixed use. While it looks very simple on its face, but it's a very, very complex project because, again, it's a developer project, and changes are brought on by the developer, our client, for very, very small reasons of cost. So while the drawing production is happening, they analyze costs, and and it's so precise in Japan that even 1 mm of plaster, makes a whole lot of difference to their costs. So and this is where Revit has been very, very handy. We've been able to use the Revit model to quickly make those changes, do estimations, and provide revised drawings to our clients at a very, very, very fast turnaround time. Just a floor plan of this building. The other advantages that has been, in Revit we've been able to use Japanese language, which is really great because annotations are all are in Japanese, and therefore that has been, and also the complexity of the floor plan itself means that this kind of clarity could only have been reached in if we were using Revit. Again, this whole idea of repetition, just modeling that in Revit, and even precise small changes that happen can be tracked very quickly across the project. These are some of the interior elevations and door window schedules where we were able to put precise information. These tables are in Japanese, but essentially in this is the first project where we've started to really inputting each and every detail of in terms of material, frame thicknesses, the values for glass, etc., because these are required by the client, and with that information we are quickly able to create these schedules and tables for this project. So overall, I think it's been a great journey. It's great learning. We are very new to this, but hoping to evolve our use of Revit. We want to use now we want to collaborate across continents or across countries, and we are really looking to use BIM Collaborate Pro more actively as we move forward. We are also using Autodesk Viewer for collaboration and reviewing across our office, the two offices in Delhi and Tokyo. We haven't yet used our BIM models during construction and operational stage, but that's something that we hope to use in the future. And the other aspect that's becoming very, very important in our project is sustainability. So our clients are looking for, they're always working with sustainability consultants now. So it's very helpful to have the Revit model as a digital twin, because that can quickly be imported into the software that sustainability consultants are using to be able to give us values and feedback for our projects. And I think that lastly, what we see using BIM as an advantage is that it helps us really seek work from across a much wider area and not just in India. So I think that with that I would like to end this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Saurabh sir, for showing us your wonderful projects. I'm sure our participants would get a lot of motivation and driving factor to get into the BIM industry.
Yeah.
And you added one more parameter, BIM means business also.
Yes.
So now I would quickly move to our next speaker. Let me share my screen. So our next speaker is architect Prithijit Majumdar from EJS India. Mr. Prithijit is an architect and BIM professional having 10 years of diversified experience of the AEC industry. Mostly worked on BIM project and is very proficient in software like Autodesk Revit, Navisworks, and 3ds Max. Worked on the international projects, majorly in aviation and transportation sectors. Have hardcore experience in BIM standards and BIM implementation on renowned projects where needs to strategize, and CAD to BIM transformation was the primary agenda. So over to you, Mr. Prithijit.
Yeah, hello everyone. Good afternoon, and thank you so much for inviting me as panelist. And I would also like to share that, yeah, it was wonderful listening to other panelists. because they were sharing their experiences and it was quite a good experience, and like it was really wonderful. So I'll start with sharing my screen. Uh, just a moment. Yep. So yes, here we are. My screen is not getting shared. Yeah. Okay. Uh, is it visible to everyone?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay. So basically, what we are facing today is like when we are trying to implement BIM in any firm, any company. So we are having lots and lots of difficulties basically. So those difficulties range from like I have classified into 5 points, which are first of all, it's a lack of expertise, and then there's lack of awareness, and we have issues in some other projects, like if a new company is stepping into the BIM field, so they are having small projects and they try to implement BIM on the pilot project, and if they fail, they go back to the primitive process, which is like AutoCAD and other softwares. So basically, after that, when we are trying to train BIM and teach BIM to the existing company with existing staff, so we are facing issues with the resistance to change, which is people try to keep on working on the softwares which they used to work because they feel comfortable in it, and trying to learn a new software, trying to learn a new process, which is BIM, is totally difficult for them. And like people are like 10 plus years of experience, they find it difficult to switch from AutoCAD and switch from other softwares to BIM. So basically, we face another problem, which is which comes later on, which is a lack of cooperation between stakeholders. Like when we are working on any project and we are trying to implement BIM on that project, so there are other stakeholders, other vendors in the project, other stakeholders who are involved in the project. So all of them try to avoid BIM, avoid getting into BIM, because they think that it's a whole different new thing, and they have to learn a lot, they have to invest a lot, because the softwares we use to work in BIM, they cost a lot. But yes, that's the thought process, that's the mentality, because people doesn't see through things. If they can understand that, yeah, like it's a long term profitable for them, if we as a BIM professional can tell them, can aware them that yes, you'll get long term profits from it, from implementation of BIM, then they will definitely try to move on. So that's what I have tried it, and it worked, and I'll go on with this. So basically, starting with the first point, which is lack of expertise. So I'll tell that previously we used to face this. Nowadays, it's not like that. So about expertise, I'll tell you. Uh, See, for example, we take a architectural firm who is trying to implement BIM in their firm. So the lack of expertise come into place when people who are working on AutoCAD or any other architectural software like SketchUp and all. So those people think that, yeah, learning Revit and learning this BIM process is difficult, because they think that like they're in the comfortable state of their mind. So when they try to understand, yes, BIM is very helpful to them, very helpful to their project, and we are trying to like get BIM into the company, they try to resist it. And other people who are learning Revit and learning other softwares, they think that, yeah, like learning Revit is fine, but it takes time in the initial part of the project. When they are working on Revit, it takes time to build up the project, because we follow certain templates, project templates are there, and other technicalities are there. So they have to follow all the guidelines, which is first of all, because they're learning Revit and they're coming into BIM platform, so it's difficult for them, it's very challenging for them. But like in a way that once they start understanding the whole scenario and the whole process, they feel it easier as compared to AutoCAD, because the end results and the byproducts of BIM model are a huge advantage for the construction phase on the project. So we have to tell them that yes, you are working, and in the initial phase of the project, it takes time to come up with the models, to come up with the drawings. But in the later on, when there is some changes in the drawings and there are like few comments, so it's easier to do the changes, because once you change in the model, all the changes gets reflected to the sheets. And in the 3D views also, it's everything is interlinked. So everything you can see through is like everything gets updated automatically. But the thing is, like people who are working on AutoCAD, they try to avoid BIM. But when they understand that yes, there's a lot of advantage to learn BIM, learn Revit software and the BIM process itself, so then they understand and then they try to move on to it. So the expertise I'm talking about here is about uh, the designers, not just the architects only. It's about the engineers of structural engineers and the guys who are working for MEPs. So expertise in like Revit software, because a designer doesn't want to do modeling part, right? So a designer will always try to work on the concept part or the technicality part. They don't want to do the modeling part. But yes, I would try to tell the whole industry that yes, if you're good with designing, you also need to come to the modeling part, because you'll understand hands-on what is happening in the project. Because the process by which we do the modeling part is almost the similar process we do the physical construction of a project. So that's why uh, this expertise, the level of expertise and the understanding of the designers is very much important for any project to get successful when we are implementing BIM. So that's why we try to like go on to the existing site or existing or the ongoing project. If they are having any ongoing project, we take the designers to the site. We tell them that yeah, see, like this is how the construction is being done for the project, and this is the same technique, which almost similar technique which we are doing for the modeling part. So it's quite similar, because for if I compare AutoCAD with Revit for this point, so in AutoCAD, when we are creating any wall, we draw two lines and then it's a wall, right? But in Revit, we click on the wall tool and we create a wall inside it. So it's pretty much similar to the construction, like. So that's how we try to explain to the designers that you should work on Revit instead of working on AutoCAD. So this is the first point, and the second point is lack of awareness. Yeah, BIM technology has been penetrated in India since 2000, since early 2000 actually. But India has been a global achiever for BIM outsource projects and all. But like in India, there was no mandate for BIM. So that's why, because there was no government mandate for BIM, so there was no awareness in BIM that yes, BIM can be done in India also. But nowadays, because lots and lots of government projects are like converted into BIM, like they have a mandate that they have to use BIM. For example, I am presently working on metro projects. So these metro projects are working now having BIM as a mandate. So their deliverables and submissions are going on BIM. So the thing is, now the awareness is still there. Previously, like if I look down 5 to 6 years back, there was not that much aware, but now the awareness is there, and people are knowing that yes, BIM is also a subfield under the whole construction and designing industry. So it's quite good, and due to this public projects which are coming onto BIM platform, so that's why there's lots and lots of visibility and exposure to the Indian people, Indian designers and architects. So it's quite good nowadays, and I would like to propose to the government and the authorities that yes, BIM should be mandated for large scale projects and the medium scale projects also, because like if you look onto the small scale projects, it's not that much effective. But yes, down the line, like if we look onto 10 to 12 years in the future, that may also help to the small scale projects. So coming on to the next point, which is cost effectiveness for small projects. I took this point because like when I try to implement BIM in some Indian firms, so the issue which I was facing is while implementing BIM, we try to implement BIM on a pilot project. So the pilot project sometimes is so small that everything is like ideally like happening. So while happening, ideally, you can't face any challenge. And if you don't face any challenge, you won't learn. So we all know that failures are the pillars of success, right? But yes, failure is also the pillar of learning. If you don't fail, you won't learn. And failure always gives us the experience upon which we dwell upon, and then we learn further, and we try to like innovate and find some solutions to resolve that. So for that, we have to get some projects which we are having challenges. So being a BIM implementation professional, what I do is when I go to any company where I'm implementing BIM, I directly tell them that tell me about the most challenging project and the worst financial project which you have faced, and I will find out the issues which you are facing, and I'll tell you guys the BIM adoption process and the BIM roadmap by which you can resolve these issues in your like upcoming projects. So that's what my approach is always, because if I don't face challenge, then I won't find a way out, and if I don't find a way out, then like nobody is learning from me anything, and I won't be able to impart BIM knowledge to anyone. So it's a roadblock for me if I don't face any challenge. So yes, for like working on a small scale project, it's also a good that yes, everyone will understand it. But yes, try to tell each try to tell the client that yes, we all need to level up and face some more challenges so that we can find out some better solution for that. Okay, coming to the next point, which I was already discussing, that resistance to the change. So it's the same point, which is like people who are working on softwares, primitive softwares like AutoCAD and other softwares. So they try to think that yes, they are already in the comfortable state of mind and comfortable state of skill sets. So they don't want to change. They don't want to change and come onto a new software and learn it and learn the whole BIM process and then work on it. It is difficult for anyone. But yes, if we can tell them that yes, if you are learning Revit and if you are learning the BIM process, it will definitely help you a lot, because we have lots and lots of advantages of BIM, and it's not just about the advantage, it's about the professional who are learning BIM. It's for their career point of view also, because BIM is the new future now, and BIM is already penetrated India now, and it is worldwide now, and it's like due to Autodesk and other like parties, it's already a success. And yes, we are more BIM driven to any AC project nowadays as compared to the like few years back. So this is how like you can tell each and everyone that yes, I totally understand that yeah, you are resisting for this new software and new process, but yes, it's just matter of months. Like you, once you learn the software, once you learn the process and try to work on it and try to work on a live project, you'll definitely get into it. Yes, people make mistakes, and that's fine. Like if people are learning new things, they will make mistake. They are bound to make mistake. But yes, again, the same thing. If you don't make mistake, you won't learn. So it's vice versa kind of a thing. So moving on to the next point, which is lack of cooperation between stakeholders. Yes, this is the main issue which I have faced always. It's just about the buy-ins of all the stakeholders, because in any project there are lots and lots of stakeholders like vendors, architects, structural designers, services designers. So and then the vendors and the contractors on the site and other like third party vendors. So all these people coming into one platform, which is BIM, is very difficult, because most of the people are having a mindset that yes, we are used to doing this sort of work in this sort of way, and we will still continue that way, because learning a new software, using a new software, learning a new process will again take a huge toll on their project budget. So that's why people try to avoid them. And yes, to get the buy-in of the stakeholders, to involve the stakeholders into this whole BIM process is very difficult. To do that, what you need to do as a BIM implementation professional is like you have to again tell them the advantages of BIM from their point of view, from their perspective. If they understand that okay, I'm a contractor, and if I'm implementing BIM in my company, then it will help in reducing the time and the cost of the project, and it will make me bid for the future projects, bid for a tentative project in much lower cost. So that will also help them, that will also motivate them to implement BIM on the company. And yes, it's not just about the project cost and the time, it's also about the byproducts. Like if a contractor is also using BIM, he can also use 4D time sequencing. So it's also another added on advantage of using BIM, which is like 4D time sequencing is schedule, the project schedule, and the animation which is done in the software, which is we use Navisworks, Autodesk Navisworks for doing that. So in that case, like what the contractors can do is they can showcase their time sequencing model and the animation to the client, and then they can tell that yes, we are going to construct this building in this manner. This is the project schedule, and we can construct the building in this whole process, this whole similar to this simulation which they have presented. So that's what they can do, and that will also motivate the client, and client will also get motivated so that he can also press the designers to design things faster and design the thing in like design the project in proper way. So yes, that's all for now. What I try to I would like to showcase one project. It was done in Revit itself, but it was converted from Rhino to Revit, because this project, I have also showcased this project before. So this is the Grand Theater Deir Rabat. So it's in Morocco, Casablanca. So this project was done in 2014. So I was a team lead over there doing that project, because I was also a junior. It was uh, I'm talking about like 2013, which like seven years back. So yep, this was a theater actually. This was a theater. So yes, you can see the views. This was designed by Zaha Hadid. She's not there with us anymore. So yes, this is the project details. So basically, it was having a 800 seat 800 seat theater, and there was an amphitheater outside. You can see in the views. So the software which they were using was Rhino, Grasshopper, SketchUp, Navisworks, and we were using Revit, AutoCAD, and Navisworks. Then the internal shell was looking like this, and we had used lots and lots of tools in Revit. And during those time, we were not having Revit Dynamo, and we literally like broke a lot of sessions like that, because we were not able to find out with some solutions how to model certain parts of the model, certain model elements. But yeah, we did somehow. And yeah, this is the inside part. You can say a sectional view. Yep. So because this project was done by Zaha, so it has a fluidic form. This is also the inside part. This is the theater part and the soundproofing thing, interiors. There's again a section. This was another room. This was the MEPF services which was involved in this building. And there are a few more views. Yeah. So yes, we faced a lot of challenges, which was complex geometry, and then breaking the model into parts, because when we are introducing more and more complex geometries in the model, it was becoming more heavy. And while becoming heavy, it was crashing a lot of times. But yes, for that only, we have divided the models into lots and lots of smaller parts. And then we have also done the construction documentation of this project. And that was also a tough part again, challenging thing. So this was the Rhino model which we got from the Zahid's team, and we have done it in Revit. So yep, we had lots and lots of complex paneling, and we also, because we have done the construction documentation, so we had to give all the panel data, all the inputs, so that they can be they can be created into proper fabricated models to be placed to be set up in the site. So yeah, these all fluidic forms were also there, some certain sections through it, and this was the documentation part. Yes, that's all from me.
Thank you.
Yeah, over to you, Farad. Thank you everyone for being here.
Thank you, Mr. Prithijeet, for taking us through the challenges faced during BIM adoption and your
Farad, you're
wonderful.
not audible.
Am I not audible now? Or
You are audible.
okay. Thank you, Mr. Prithijeet, for taking us through the challenges which one can face during BIM adoption, and of course your wonderful Zahadi project. So let me just share my screen and we'll move forward to the next segment. So before we move to the Q&A session, I would like to introduce quickly our program Capricorn BIM Guru. So BIM Guru is an implementation program for the corporates or the firms which want to transit into basically they want to implement BIM in their organization. It's a one-year contract. We give training, content, and troubleshooting, online troubleshooting. So any office who wants to switch, they can email us at connect@capricorn.com. Or if you are an individual professional and you want to switch your career into BIM, again you can email on the same. And we have a lot of WhatsApp group also where we keep on posting the BIM jobs. So you can join that group also. So for any query, please email at connect@capricorn.com. So now we'll move on to the Q&A session. So I can see a lot of questions also in the Q&A box. I'll be picking up a few questions and the rest I can share with the jury members and they can answer it on the email. So okay, so before jumping into the other questions, I have like one question from Surat sir, especially. So sir, you said that technology or BIM is highly essential for complex projects. I agree. Even Mr. Prithijit showed a very complex project. Without BIM or sophisticated software, it's not possible. But as an architect, I feel that, or I mean, it's a question. Do you think are we making sensible, simple buildings also? Because in India, I can find that the buildings not performing well in the energy consumption during their life cycle. If you spend 1 rupee in design, 20 rupee in construction, you end up spending 80 to 100 rupees in the maintenance of the building. So if the building is not performing well in the energy during its life cycle, it's going to be a very costly building for the owner. So don't you think that BIM would actually help in that perspective also?
It's all about awareness. I don't know whether most of the developers are able to understand that there is an element of energy and a cost involved over a life cycle of the project. So most of the industry right now is concentrating themselves in smaller silos. My job is to build, my job is to sell, oblique transfer, and then it's the RWA that manages it. Okay, so just to give an example, so I think so the holistic approach of, as rightly said across by Pritijit, is also that the government needs to take a little bit of a stance saying that this is what we believe in. This is like, I'll just give a blunt example, that there is an ECBC norm, there is a norm which talks about energy modeling, it talks about a certain amount of U value, etc. Do you think every residential building, the glass which is there in the balcony manages that U value? No. So what is the fun of making a norm which you cannot implement or enforce? Had they done that exercise, I think so your 80% of the problem is resolved. 2, when I go and look outside my balcony at night, I see almost 70% of the buildings still with their facade light and the neon lamps and the lobby lights all lit, all lit. You can just drive down anywhere in Gurgaon or any of the areas and you will see all these lights lit. Go down to Shanghai and go the same drive at 11 o'clock at night, you will see 80% of the lights off. Okay, so it's to do with awareness and government mandate saying there'll be no electricity, that you will switch off a common area after 11 o'clock. The whole facade light also needs to go off. Simple. Only aviation light is on. So it's to do with how government oblique individual awareness comes in life. And when it comes in life, it becomes either your personal mandate or a government mandate. But rightly said so by you that there has to be in more, I would say, I can just give another blunt example again of driving road with the seat belt. My own driver used to tell me 10 years back, sir, gala दखता है थोड़ा सा सांस नहीं ले सकते. Now the same set of drivers are driving everywhere with the same belt. Okay, now there is a mandate, there is a fine. You see now even the maids running out of their houses are with masks. The same thing was not there 1 year back. So I think so it's all to do with awareness and mandates.
Right, sir. Definitely.
I didn't answer it directly. I gave you indirect answers across for you to understand the answer behind those lines.
Right, sir. So thank you for that. So moving on. So this question is a general question, can be answered by any of our esteemed panelists. So this is from a civil engineer. Actually, he's asking, how can a civil engineer use BIM platform and make a career in this field? Because as a civil engineer, I'm so much confused that is Revit for me or not, because I'm not much interested in the modeling part. I'm more interested in the quantity takeoffs, schedule making, and our industries. Are they hiring civil engineers in BIM? So it's an open question to anyone who could like to take it.
Okay, so let me answer that question to you. We have 2 civil engineers in our department who do only quantity takeoffs, and that too associated with Revit BIM. They also use another software called Plexus, which is very similar to Costex, and that's what they operate on. Okay, and they learned it all here. It's not being taught across by many companies in here. So they have learned the software themselves. So the thing is that, you may be interested in element A, but that's just the first stepping stone. If you use that first step, I'm 100% sure that you will start loving it. So, you have to move in it to start engaging yourself with it. So, BIM is like that. You move towards it an inch and it'll suck you in.
Thank you, sir. So I'm sure, so this is from anonymous person. So he must have got motivation now to enter BIM properly.
Farhad, sorry, an interjection here around civil engineering. So I believe, sir, and please correct me, now with large infrastructure projects, especially being done on BIM, the role of civil engineers in conjunction with architects becomes even more important on BIM, because so for example, structure components, MEP components, which are to be delivered on the design side, they would be having an input. So earlier it used to be a mix, that the Revit modeling was done by architects and the other consultants were still working on CAD and reliant on architects to deliver the final output. But now I think everyone is by mandate supposed to work on the BIM environment itself. So that would sort of enforce that, okay, even engineers have to use BIM in their projects.
So I think so. Yes, you're absolutely right that civil engineers, you have to wear that hat. Do you want to engage yourself with technology? The moment you wear that hat, trust me, there's such a plethora of advantage that you're going to get, what is called as an early bird advantage. Okay, now if you see, Prithvijit adopted it 10 years back. Today he was a part of a team which was doing that particular job. If you see Dubai Eye, Sean Killer's design, I was working with Sean Killer on a 300-meter high building across in Dubai, in which the building was twisted, and everybody raised their hands. Biggest consultants in Dubai raised their hands, and here was one consultant who came with his structural engineer. Within 7 days, he was able to give us analysis that the building is acceptable to the wind tunnel. Okay, now to give that kind of a confidence, you needed a civil engineer to actually do that and figure out the outriggers and get inside the thing, thick and thin of things and make that commitment. So I think so. You are at a great advantage to all the civil engineers, guys. I'm telling you, 5 years to 7 years from today, I can predict that, you know, the whole AutoCAD mechanism is going to go out of the window, out of the window. Okay. So it is the time of early bird adopters. Just go for it. You know, go with your instincts, follow it.
Yep. Thank you, sir. Yeah.
And those who want to take advantage of adopting BIM, they can contact Capricorn to learn BIM.
Yeah.
Then there is a very common question, I would say, or I also get it a lot. Developing BIM model actually takes a lot more time as compared to 2D design. So what about that?
Saurav.
Yeah, in fact, yeah, I'd like to take that question. I think like it has been, it is, while it does take the time, I think we do not, we shouldn't underestimate the time it takes to make changes, because, you know, clients are very, you know, it's very difficult to control how many iterations you yourselves will make to your design, and will be brought on to the design because of a client intervention. And it's the time that takes, the initial model is obviously it's yeah, more time consuming to set up, but once you've set up, then making changes, actually there's a lot of overall actually it's faster. And once your team is very they've learned, and the training is over, and the team is very comfortable with Revit, then it actually moves quite fast. So I actually think that's not the case. It's a time saver advantage, I would say, across, even at all scales of project, not just for large projects, even smaller projects.
See, the habits have been spoiled. Okay, so it is to do with the habits. Okay, so the habit is that, you know, there has been the content of I'm again going to use the word developers, who do ask you that 7 days get me the concept, and there are team members who are going to give you that concept. But if you are a BIM adopter, trust me, you cannot give a concept in 7 days, but you will be able to deliver the project error-free much better than the person who gives that answer in 7 days time. So I think so you need to make that differentiate across for yourself, that, you know, as rightly said by Prithviraj also, that if you start moving through that process of making people comfortable, educating the the developers and the clients, and then mentioning that how are you going to face those challenges and give those answers, I think so you will have the advantage.
Right, sir. So thank you, sir. I also get this question. I have one line for anyone who asks this question. I say BIM is not a faster horse. Comparing BIM with AutoCAD is like comparing horse with car, you know. It will take time for manufacturing, but yes, you cannot go to office on a horse. It's about the convenience, it's about the efficiency which you get after your car is got manufactured.
That's a good example for us. That's a wonderful example.
So this is some article actually I read.
Okay.
So yeah. So actually we are getting more and more questions. So I'm just going to ask the interesting one. The rest we'll share on the email. So this question is, I think, for Surat sir specifically. Nice insight on your journey of transition on BIM. Sir, if you could please shed some light on how BIM helps in curtailing the project cost.
Everybody knows about it, hears about it. Prithijit also mentioned this across, that you're able to make a building virtual. Okay. Now, when you talk about it, it's easier said than done. Once when you actually make the building virtual, you are able to understand cut, fill, costs, total lengths, actual exact quantities. You can actually predict everything. So I'll just give an example for you to understand the level of detailing that can be done. Assume that you were able to calculate the quantity of wall required on the 88th floor, and you actually calculated the number of bricks that get broken in the case, and then you were able to take a crane with those exact number of 236 bricks and put it over there, so that you don't have to transport those bricks back down all the levels. So imagine the amount of manpower cost and other savings that you would do. And similarly, wastages of material, like Zaha Hadid's building or any building which is designed in a parametric model, you were able to precisely cut the aluminium or the MS and then weld them together across. That's a huge material saving. The amount of material that goes to site is not cut and welded at site. It is done in the factory based on a precision CAD out of a Revit model. And hence there is a huge amount of cost saving that happens in each and every project. We did a project in which there were, I can't tell you the numbers because I don't have them, but I remember that it was a very large project for a Pfizer kind of a company, okay? And the amount of glazings and facades and the MEP running through these areas were puncturing huge amount of partition walls. And those partition walls have gypsum in it, they have rock wool inside it. And that amount of rock wool that would get saved by removing that cutout would be equivalent to approximately 2 truckloads of glass wool. Now imagine 2 truck of glass wool going across the site and eventually not being used and then coming back. It's a wastage of material. That is a saving. So one of the contractors that we helped them save this money was awarded a financial monetary award, you can say, because his residue from the site was negligible because of that value add that we did. I don't know whether I gave that right example for you to understand that that's how you save cost. You can save cost by eliminating wastages also, besides precision, adding the level of precision. Prithvi, you can also add to that.
Yes, sir, yes, sir. I was about to add. I was waiting for you to finish. Wonderful experience sharing from you, sir. Because yes, it's all about not just about the cost saving. It's also about the material saving. When you save the material, you are ultimately saving the cost also. So yep, because we are in a age where building materials are becoming more costly and it's becoming more expensive day by day. So saving the material while using and implementing BIM onto the whole process will lead us to the next new future. So yes, sir, totally agreed on your point, and it's a very good point that BIM not only just saves time and cost in that in the in the default procedures and default methods, but also when you are saving materials in the site of construction, it also helps a lot for the contractors and a lot for the vendors also who are trying to come into site and they are trying to fix certain elements in the building. So it's a huge cost saving for them. And in BIM, we can also plan the logistics accordingly, right? We can also do the logistic planning, and which also again helps the contractor and the subcontractors eventually. So it's a new future nowadays. So we have to find out new ways, new procedures to challenge and to fight with the whole ongoing scenario in the construction industry nowadays. So yes, totally agreed with you. And everyone should also promote this because wastage of material is also again one of the important point which everyone should keep in mind for implementation of BIM, for which we can promote. Yep.
So, sir, here, thank you so much, sir. So I really appreciate that. So I believe cost is more of indirect, a lot of savings in the entire project life cycle. So I'll ask some more questions, more on the commercial side of this business. So more around, this is a very common objection we get, especially from consultants who are moving to BIM now. So the consultancy is a very competitive and very low margin kind of a business, especially in India. So with having BIM in your armor, having BIM in your kitty now, do your customers give you a preferential over others? will they, or do you think they would prefer you because you are doing BIM? And second, do you get any commercial advantage from your customers because you're delivering on BIM?
Let Saurav answer this question, then I will give you my take on it, because he knows about this Indian industry much better. We are just inside it now. Then maybe if Saurav, if you don't mind adding to this, because you are into this industry for a longer duration inside this arena, then I will talk about the Indian consultancy, because I've led it in a different sense, if you don't mind.
Yeah. I mean, I have precisely. I think I've called that out also in my slides. But basically, I think that there has been an advantage. All types of clients are now coming to us, definitely seeking BIM as a platform that we are working with, both residential and institutional. That's a specific requirement mandate for a lot of people. And the international work that we have. Definitely, we are getting it just on the basis of the fact that we are doing, and the fact that in India we have the trained manpower. In many other contexts, that's not available. That it's very there's readily available manpower to do BIM. So I think that definitely has had business advantages for us. No questions about that. And more, what I think what's happening is that. In the industry, architects are they're not being referred to as architects anymore, or designers, they're being called consultants. And as consultants, you have to really be consultants at a much larger level. You're not only talking about design, you're talking about costs, about sustainability, about life cycle of buildings. And I think from that perspective, you become a more responsible consultant when you have a software like Revit or BIM in your armor. That's what I feel.
Yeah. So you see, the thing is, I've been in this industry in which I have obviously done projects across for larger developers, DLF and the others. And then when we move from the conventional, like there was a couple of projects which were being done at that time by IDEO. They mandated that it has to be a Revit platform, and therefore they did housing. But then those housings and the other projects that were being done, etc., the level of detail was not being discussed. I mean, the awareness of LODs was not there. So you were just thinking about, okay, drawing it should come out of a Revit. So the idea was more in quantification and cost saving rather than coordinating. So the whole job was restricted to generating drawings which looked like AutoCAD, but were out of Revit, but they had the quantification being taken out, but they literally didn't have added information, didn't have the glass thicknesses, the aluminum was not detailed to the issue properly, the junction details were not there, and then the rest of the drawings were dealt into AutoCAD. Today also, I without naming fraternities across, I know that there are airports being done in which the landscape or the interior stuff which is being done is actually done on AutoCAD. Then they put the format into Revit, and that's it. Because the mandate is, give the drawing in Revit, they will just go ahead, superimpose the sheet sets in it, and that's where they have solved the problem. Why? Because if they go ahead to pick the so-called talented team to do Revit, the boys are not there. So I'll give another example. So there is a very large hospital to be done. Everybody knows the name, but I'm not going to name the project. And there, the prima facie contractor has outsourced it to an architect. The architect has outsourced it to sub-architects, and sub-architects are further outsourcing it to sub-sub-sub-architects. Now, why? Because the main contractor doesn't have those number of Revit people. The main architect doesn't have the total number of Revit people. And then the whole project is thrown into a disarray of saying, okay, there are multiple consultants working on a project across at BIM 360 and collaborating across. I think so that's not the right platform or the right way to look at collaboration or any project, as a matter of fact. So I think so developers don't give you any advantage today, to the best of my opinion. They understand that you do it, they give you a preference, but when it comes down to matching the cost or the amount of time that you would take to generate that, is not there. So they are basically talking about 2D to 3D or 2D to quantification. That's it. So I think so that shift is changing now. I'm not saying it is going to remain static. That shift we have already seen. A couple of developers have mentioned to us that, okay, we see that your organization is not a profit and loss organization. You're not worried about the fee aspect of it. You're worried about value engineering aspect of it. So value engineer our projects. Give us the coordinated set. Give us where we can save money. So we are now not engaged in any more the documentation part of Revit, but the value engineering part of Revit. And that is the shift that I see, which has become a very encouraging shift for me, because I feel that awareness, once when it's come in, the adoption will be faster.
Yep. Thank you, sir. So that probably would answer a lot of questions, because that is a major objection everyone gets. Should I or should I not? And what benefits I will derive out of it. So Farhad, any more questions from your side?
Questions are actually endless, but time is limited. So I think, sir, we can proceed with the next section.
So I'll have one last question, and that would also be my closing remarks, sir. So first of all, let me thank all of you for being here and giving us your pearl of wisdom and thoughts on your journey also. So one last question and one last statement for each one of you. So what do you think is the future of this? And by this, I mean everything, architecture, BIM, and how do you think together is going to go forward in the next 5, 6, 10 years, and what everyone should do to like get a hang of it. So Surat sir, you are the senior most experienced one. So I'll start with you. So
okay, so I'll just tell you, in the next around 5 years, 4 to 5 years or so, both AI as well as AI is going to come in. So augmented reality as well as artificial intelligence is just going to move into this arena, and you will start making presentations virtually on buildings, including the modeling, including walkthroughs, everything. Like 3 years back, augmented reality came in and died its, just went into a box. But actually it has its own set of merits. I'm not saying augmented reality has been experimented enough in the world, but then artificial intelligence, or rather intuitiveness of Revit, will happen. I think so that is a limiting factor right now for, and then you have to depend on softwares like Rhinos and Grasshoppers to make that. Yes, Dynamo is an answer to that, but then I think so still, it is still needs to grow to that level of what, the challenges that Vijit mentioned, that there was a Revit, we tried, the model was able to do it, but we had challenges to model the panels, and then that element of challenge needs to be overcome. Okay. That is something that will change the way people will start looking at it, because the future of buildings needs to be creative eventually, and your limitedness, as I said to you, humans can think unlimited elements, right? They are not limited by the next thing, but then tools can limit you sometimes.
True.
Okay, so the moment tools, so like Max versus Lumion, if you ask 90% of the architects and say, take an opinion, take a guess, I would say 70-80% of that, I mean, that's my feeling, 70-80% would say go for Lumion because it's more intuitive, it's much more easier than Max because Max is more precise. But then what do you want? So here comes the challenge between the two, that okay, there is A plus B plus C. So there is going to be a interpolability of software that will happen, and there is that artificial intelligence will start coming in. Right now, like wall is an intelligent element, but it's still not as intelligent as what I think so it should be able to do. It should be able to give, so there are other developers and other independent bodies which are now developing, where you can do a massing and slicing and study the massing also as much as Revit, but then Revit has not been explored that way. Revit is now a more production tool rather than a design tool, and I think so it needs to move to that design tool arena. The moment it moves to that design tool arena and it becomes intuitive, then you will not say, oh, it's difficult to learn. No, because it's intuitive.
Absolutely, sir. Yeah, I agree.
That's where it would move.
Yeah. So I think it's more, it has to now evolve. The tools also have to evolve now, which are being used by the industry. Absolutely, sir. So Pridhijit, your comments and now you have been working like on large infrastructure projects. So what do you think is going to be the future?
Yeah, I have a different story as compared to Surat sir, and Surat sir has also explained it in his own way, and it's I totally agree with him. And what I personally think is there are a few more things, new things which has come up in this BIM universe. If I talk about, so one of it is generative design. I am like totally into generative design now because I'm trying to harness the like energy of generative design basically, because it's a heavily powerful tool, and we use Dynamo for it basically, and we are still on the way. So that's why we are also training our like staff in Revit Dynamo. So basically, what I think about the next future is it's about if I quote one term, which is generative design. So basically, we are trying to optimize the designing process, optimize the design. When we are doing the design process, we should come up with the best possible outcome or five best possible outcomes, right? And we can then discuss and then do a brainstorming session to find out the best possible outcome and the best possible option for the design.
Yes.
So this is the way for generative design, which can be used for any discipline across any design aspect. And then the next thing is if I again talk about Dynamo, which is like Dynamo can do wonders. So it's just a a backdoor entry for Revit, with which we can modify Revit in such a way that that can be very helpful for the designers and for the modelers also. So what I think down the line, maybe 9 to 10 years, but in future, what I think is all this process, all this designing process, modeling process, and the BIM process is going to be automatized, right? Everything should be like we should more focus on the coding part now to set a benchmark for the future, so that in future everything should be automatized. But what we as designers should do input is the best possible design prototypes, which we can run into the coding, run into the database of the generative design codes, so that we can get the best option for the design. So what I think, me being a BIM manager after 10 years, if I see myself, I'll see myself as a coder, somewhat as a coder, not as a designer, because like everything is going to shift around. Because today is 2022. So if you look back into 2012, we were using Revit 2013 version, which was not even having work sharing, right? So there was only one guy who used to work on one file. So there was no work sharing. So multiple people weren't working on one particular file. So lot have changed.
Yes.
Use thing has happened. So down the line again, 10 years ago, like 10 years in the forward 2032. So we can see that, yeah, the designing part and the modeling part is happening automatically if we give certain amount of inputs, certain amount of parameters, the software, the Revit software, or maybe another some other software from Autodesk or some other company, they will be giving us the design options on their own using the generative design approach. And like for the BIM process workflow, which we work on, so that can also be automatized because lots and lots of big data and data scientists are coming onto this industry, BIM industry. So I have few of my friends who are studying in Germany, and they are also working as an interns to other companies. They are coming up with Revit plugins. So now, as of now, they are studying and they're coming up with Revit plugins, which are related to generative design and other aspects of Revit software as well. Because if we're trying to duplicate sheets or set up multiple views, so they're just one click, and we have to set up the parameters. All the views are placed into the sheets, and the sheets are filled up with all the information, required information. So everything is done in 1 or 2 clicks. So that's already happening now, which is 2022. So in 2032, it will be a changed world in BIM and AEC industry, because in 2032, what I think is everything is going to be digitalized. So the construction process also going to be digitalized. The robots will be doing the construction for us, and we will be bound to come up with the most and best feasible way of doing the design process, and the best possible design options will be there in our hand, and we have to get it constructed in the site. So we have also to develop the construction model, so which will be fed into the construction robots. They will be constructing the model inside the physical building inside actually. So that's what I'm thinking about the future, and I have lots and lots of thoughts about this, but we don't have time enough.
Yeah, so we'll do one more session only around the future. That's
Yep.
you
I'll
got
be
me a
very
new,
much interested for
you
that.
give me a new idea now for a
Yep,
webinar.
yep.
Yeah,
Yes,
that sounds
we
good.
can do
Yeah,
that. I have
yeah,
lots and lots of ideas actually, so I can
perfect.
share.
Yeah,
No,
thank you
it's
so much.
absolutely energizing to hear all that. No doubt about it. But you see, the world is always going to be, the poor and the rich. The economic disparities will be the reality of our world. So there will be projects which will be exactly what Prithvijit is talking about, which will be like, talk of the town into the
Yes,
magazines, and people will talk about it. At the same time, there'll still be the same old house where the brick will be laid across in some of the other remote part of the country, which will not be automated. So there will be the two worlds which will live in, and that's how the economy works. You cannot have everything move to some technology buff across. But yes, just like today, mobile phones and the deliveries of Amazons have come into picture. There will be a shift change in the way people behave and do their stuff, but there will be definitely a large chunk of automation if we have to just use one single cliche word. Some will be using coding, some will not be using coding because they still believe that the mind is more creative than the codes. So there'll be these two dilemmas that will always be there, and that's the beauty of human mind.
yeah.
Yep,
Thank you, sir.
totally agree, sir. Totally
Yeah.
agree. But yeah, about one point I would want to emphasize. You to, you told us about the budget factor, right? The costing thing. So what I would suggest the Indian government is that if there is a group housing for the LIG people, LIG class of our society. So the thing what we can do is we can come up with a process within a BIM process which can be we can come up with certain things we can do a precast sort of a building setup. So we can set up the precast buildings for them, which will be again done in Revit, and there will be a proper process for that, and we can build up certain precast colonies and societies in a faster way using BIM and other technology and other tools also. So yes, I totally agree with you, but yes, I have other options to challenge those hurdles. So I would love to face these challenges in future.
Sounds exciting, Prithjit.
Yep.
So, Saurabh yes. So, please, what's
Yeah.
your vision of future?
Yeah, I think there are two aspects that I think that there is going to be a massive change. One is the nature of building itself, and I completely agree with Surat sir and Prabhijit about the type of buildings we are going to build. I think there's going to be, because of cost efficiencies and environmental efficiencies, we will move towards modular buildings, precast buildings. I think that's the way to go. 3D printed buildings is perhaps the big thing for the future, because of the fast turnaround times, the amount of cost savings. I think that's the way to go. Those are the buildings, and definitely modular, precast, 3D printed buildings. Though that's where the building industry is going. I feel part of it, at least in the urban areas, and but for rural areas also there's great advantage. And I think there's the other thing that we have found in the last 2 years, that the workplace itself is changing. That because of COVID, we realized that it's possible to be sitting anywhere and working. While architects, we love to, in our studio, we love to work with models and, making things. But the fact that today we've realized, 2 years working from home, that, you could be sitting anywhere and doing work. So I think that workplace itself has become enlarged and not really focused on the office. So I think there, how do you collaborate online, not just with other people in the same industry, but people of other specialities? So how is software going to enable that? Is very important, I think. So that's what I would say.
Absolutely. So thank you, everyone. This was wow. The last 15-20 minutes. I'm very thankful for the thoughts, the kind of future prospects that we have, and probably have given me one more idea about doing a future of BIM kind of a webinar. So again, I really thank all the panelists and all the participants here. So thank you, Suraj sir. Thank you, Saurabh ji. Thank you, Prithijit. Thank you, Farad, for moderating. Thank you all. Have a good evening. And hope to see you all very soon again on this platform to have this kind of session with our other participants a much larger audience next time.
Thank you,
sir.
guys.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Inshallah.
Thank
Take
you,
Thank you,
care.
everyone. It was a wonderful session.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye. Thanks, guys, for
Yeah,
participating.
bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.